Welcome to all the classic car enthusiasts. If you can hear a bit of thunder in the background, we've got a bit of a storm going. So you might hear a few thunderclaps every now and again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on these HD8 carburetors. They're not originally from an XK150, they're from a, I believe they came off an E-Type. So I was told that we bought them second hand because there's a problem apparently, according to the supplier I went to, there's a problem with these, Berlin have a problem making brand new carburetors. There's apparently something wrong with the castings, with the bodies or something. That's what I'm being told. It could be a lot of old baloney, but he says you can't get old and for love nor money. New ones I'm talking about. So anyway, we plumbed for some second-hand ones, which we still paid a lot of money for, but they're in quite a bad condition. So I've got a complete SU kit, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rebuild them. So I'll show you as they are right now, and some of the things that I'm going to do to, for instance, where the screws are rusty and so on and so forth. I came up with a little idea a couple of years ago, which I'd seen on the internet, I have to say. I saw on YouTube, and it's basically this. This is an old Swarfiga jar. I have an old sander, and what I did was I made a metal plate for it and screwed it to the top of here. You can just take the top off, basically. Hang on. This was only a trial thing, but it did the job. Let me see if I can get this off here. Hang on. There we go. So basically, you put some, what is it now? I think it's called, it's vinegar, but they call it apple vinegar. Any cheap vinegar would do it, because the screws and the nuts and bolts and jets and so on are very, very small in here, and you know, you can't sandblast them, obviously. They're a tolerance fit. And so basically what you need is some kind of cleaner. There are ones around that vibrate with kind of like a material in them to clean them, but it can take forever. It can take like 24 hours, and you get different compounds to put in it. This works brilliantly. I only had it on for around 20 minutes, and it cleaned them like they were brand new. And I'll show you that process. And as I say, it was just that you could do it with a tin or anything. You can see I just bolted it to the top. This is just a plate that went on the side of it, and I'll refabricate this a bit better so it doesn't rattle so much. And you basically just hang it in the air. So I've got another one of these. This is a cheap one from you know, the kind of thing you get from B&Q. I don't know what the brand name on this is, but it's not. It's just a homemade. Not homemade. It's a DIY thing. And basically, what we did was we took this piece of string and held it like that. And the reason we did that was because we want this off the ground, so it doesn't vibrate. So it's vibrating the whole thing. If you obviously put it on the ground, all the vibrations are going to stay out of it. And as I say, I just hung it on something like this for 5 minutes, tried it, and it was really good. And then I did it for about 15 minutes more, and it worked out perfect. And that was just with apple vinegar. So I'll show you that process when we get to it, and it works really well. Easy to make. You can buy ultrasonic machines which do it. It's like a hot water pan where it puts ultrasonic through and it takes the rust off. There is other ways of doing it. But I saw this on the YouTube and I thought, I'll give it a go. I can't believe it's that good, and anyway, it worked out well. So just to give you an idea, I'm going to bring you in and show you one of these carburetors. So you can see the kind of condition that's in. It looks like it's been painted, the body on it. That's got paint on it for sure. There are some parts here that you could actually sandblast, but what I'll do is I'll use a Scotch-Brite or 3M to clean it off. Obviously that's been painted over somewhere, probably in America. I think the car that came off came from America. So you can see the kind of condition they're in, and all of them are the same. There's the N1. And the last one here has this automatic choke on it. It's basically just a solenoid. It comes off a thermostat, and it's open and shuts. So what I'll do is, you can see, I'll come back out again and I'll show you And you can see here in the front here, there's a kit. It comes with everything in it. There's the 3 diaphragms, all the gear you need, 3 jets and 3 cars for the fuel bowls. So basically these will be completely refurbished, and not just spare parts, but also I'll clean the bell housing. You can see if I take this one apart, which I've cracked the screws on it already just to show. So what I'll do is I'll pop these to one side now. If you're not familiar with these carburetors, it's probably, I'll take it apart in front of you so you can see it. Oh, that's too far. Sorry guys, just getting. I'll take that to one side too. So the first thing I want to do is make sure that is working. This is the plunger for the damper where there's oil inside, and this stops it just shooting up. It's basically like a shock absorber, if you like. And there's an oil, special oil to go in them. Most SU carburetors have that, whether on a Mini or a Jaguar or whatever it is. It's got SU carburetors. And as I say, these are the carburetors that were on the car. They were twin carburetors. It was a 3.4 twin, and we're making them into 3.4S specification because they had a triple carb and a high flow head on it. So what I'll do now is try and take off this and see in front of you. Hopefully it will come apart. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's not been apart for quite some time, I would imagine. So that's going to need a bit of work on it. Even the carbs is, oh, they're quite badly inside. You can see they're quite bad. Quite a lot of rust in there. But oh, it's so tight. Okay, what I'll do is I'll bring you back in a second. I'll put the carburetor into the vise, and I made some aluminium. In fact, Amir made them, but he made a couple of sets of aluminium inserts for the vise, because obviously the vise will make quite a mess where the grippers are. So I held that in the vise very lightly because this is a casting, and then I used the rubber mallet to knock it back, and it broke the seal. So I haven't actually taken it off yet. You're seeing it as I knocked it, so it came off, and you can see now, and that is jammed inside. So this is the piston. Oh my god, that's just water that's come out of there. Look, that's full of water. Jesus Christ. That means that fuel bowl is full of water too, probably. Where that's come from, I don't know. But it must have been sat outside. That's pure water that's in there. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just take the top off this now. Luckily this is not corroded up, but this is normally what happens with these SU carburetors is this. There's a stem in here. When I take this banjo union off, which is broken, there is a stem with a thread on it. This is the old banjo union, which is broken, obviously. And normally this gets very badly corroded up. So this is something that will go into the, and I've got a little box to keep all my parts for it. So now when I take this off, there should be a gasket on top of here. Okay, so there you can see the housing. This is the arm for the float, and there's a needle in there. In fact, surprisingly enough, that's still working. So, and the best thing to do when you're doing carburetor, especially doing 3 or 2 or whatever, multiples, not just one because it's only one box, but it's better to put the parts in separate boxes, a little bit like when you're taking out valves, push rods, or you're taking valves out and put them in series, because they tend to wear in a certain way. And there's where the water is, look. It's right in where the float is. It's full. Oh my god. And there's the float. They're a brass float in these. Excuse me, I'll just clean this water up. So, and there's the brass float that goes with it. What you can do with these floats, or any float, is the first thing you do, once you want to do is get them dry, and then you want to check. And if I can, you might be able to hear there's a little bit of fluid in there, and this will make the float not work well. And these are fairly cheap to buy, so it's not something you really need to mess around with. This is where the main corrosion is caused, and I've had actually the H8 carburetors where this stem has actually snapped right off, which is absolutely useless. It means the bowl and this base piece you can't use, you have to dump it and get another one. So you can see, hopefully you can see in there, there's actually, which is where the jet goes down, the needle goes inside. This is the jet in the bottom, and the needle goes up and down. So this part here is for the vacuum, and obviously there's the butterfly there. So with the kit, it doesn't look like there is new butterflies, which is a bit disappointing, because normally they do get a little bit of wear. No, there isn't. So it's the basic kit he's got me. So I'll check these. So not to go on too long, I'll do some videos on these carburetors if you're interested. But basically what you want to do is, when you've got this off, or when you're looking through the carburetor, if you can see any corona or any light around the edge, then that needs replacing, that butterfly. So if I hold it up to the light, and I can see, which I can't, yeah, there's no corona at all, almost like an eclipse of the moon. If you see a circle or any little area, then you need to change it. It means there's some problem with that flap, and that will cause problems with your carburetor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip that down. This is basically the piston. Again, it's full of water. This is just the mainspring to push the piston down, and you can see there's the needle there, and they're a solid needle, but they've been in water for a long time, quite badly corroded. So what we'll do is I'll strip these down, clean everything, and we can take, you can see how the condition that that's in, and we can take this from this condition by cleaning it and get it highly polished, not chrome, but so it's highly polished aluminium, and I'll show you that process. I have a buffing machine, but you have to use very high grade sanding paper, like 1500, the kind of stuff, 2000, the kind of stuff you would use for paintwork on a car, just to get rid of the micro scratches. But you need to get it off first, so you'd probably start with something like this, which is Scotch, and you can see almost immediately there's a difference there already. But obviously it's a lot of work because there's 3 of them to do, and you get lots of pitting. With pitting, I'll show you another technique for doing that. So that's it for today, just a little update. Just quickly I wanted to mention about the competition that Jason won, and he's very happy about his t-shirt, which I'm really glad about. A lot of people made some estimates about what the cars or what the Minis were worth. What you have to take into consideration with this is that to take a body shell, even with all the components, and put it back together is quite a time-consuming job. So unless, as I said in the previous video, unless you're doing this as a hobby and doing it at home, it wouldn't be viable to do it. You would be better off buying a car that's paying more money and buying a car that's in reasonably good condition, mechanically and body-wise, subframe, so on, than you would in actually restoring one. But the difference is it's a hobby, and when you've restored a vehicle, like for instance Alex and Chris and Martin, Sean, DB, all these guys, the fun is in actually taking it from a rust trap into something really great and something nice, and you're driving it with total confidence because you know every nut and bolt on the vehicle. The downside with restoring a vehicle is that once it's finished, you've put so much love, blood, sweat and tears into it that you're frightened to leave it anywhere, or nowhere where you can't see it, in case somebody steals it or whatever, or scratches it. So that's the downside of it. And every little noise or every little whatever, every slight noise, you're constantly on alert and looking at gauges constantly. And that's a common thing with once you've restored a car, especially if it's taken a lot of years because you've put a lot into it. So as usual, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby. To me, it's one of the owning the car and driving the car. Owning it is the least important to me. Driving it is important, but restoring it, taking it from what it is and rebuilding it and saving it, not just saving it sounds like being a hero, I don't mean it that way, but it's just a marvelous feeling, even though it can take years sometimes to do things. The what you get back from it will pay you back 100-fold, believe me. I can only tell you from my experience, but it will do. So as I say, take care and enjoy your hobby. Bye.